on, get ready, let's go. We roll up every morning with a smile on our face. Soap fan in the house, we're picking up the pace. Lather up the.
Now, I want to take a minute to talk about all the soaps, some of the current storylines that I've seen talked about online, and some of the things that I've been talking about. But first, if you haven't done so, please take a minute to subscribe, hit that like button, and if you want to support the channel, become a member where you'll get to see these videos first. We're going to begin with Young and Restless, where Jack and Patty they have drug induced whoopee. And this is so problematic for, so many reasons. Because in the 70s, 80s, 90s, something like this to happen on a soap would be normal. But after Me Too and people looking at things like this in a different way, nobody wants to use the R word in relation to Victor Newman. But, you know, that's exactly what's happening where these people have been taken advantage of because of his machinations. And so I just saw this online. So I wasn't watching back then. So this was new information to me for the most part. But some of you have been watching the rest for a while, probably already know this. But Patty had sex with a drug jack. I don't know if that's been in the past or if this is the second time it's happened or the first. Chelsea was paid to seduce Billy. She slept with him when he was drunk. Jack had sex with Kelly to get out of being hostage. Phyllis had sex with Marco, believing he was Jack. All these crimes that were committed are tied to Victor Newman, but they will never go there. And one of the reasons why I stopped watching Young and Restless, and I'll pick it up sooner or later, but it just got way too stupid. Like Jack is kidnapped. Then you've got Lily and the kids. Nobody calls the police. Nobody calls the FBI. Nobody's take really takes Victor to task. This is definitely going to probably end up with the Newmans getting their company back. But I'm going to talk about Leslie on Beyond the Gates a little later, where someone doesn't really get what's coming to them. And after a while, it gets old. Now, Victor losing his company, that was at least some retribution. But, you know, the way his storyline is going, I needed to be more nuanced. This is kind of stupid. And then to know that Stacey Haydock is no longer on Dead or Alive for now. And, we'll see her for like the next 9 months. But she said in January that they put her character on hiatus. So whatever's Kristen's storyline is now, I don't care because she's moved in with Brady to try to seduce him away from Sarah. And who cares? We know how it's gonna end. She's gonna be off the show. So it's like General Hospital with Cody and Molly. He asked to be on reoccurring. So we've been getting a lot of Cody over the last 2 weeks, but probably a week from now, he's gonna disappear again because he's reoccurring. Um, just like Finola Hughes, who plays Anna, she's now reoccurring. So that's why we don't see Anna. And it's hard to be invested in storylines where we know how it's going to end. And I can't really see things with Patty going like much further for the simple fact that, she drugged Jack into sex. And I mean, where does her character go from here? Other than a few fights with Diane. Um, Jack going to be torn when he doesn't even, he says on Monday he doesn't even know how this happened, and then we're going to have uh Kyle, Billy, and Diane walking in on them while they're in bed. So, gonna be a mess. I'll probably watch that part, but I don't care about Matt Clark. They don't care about writing for Mariah. You know, there's just so many storylines that's going on. You and the rest of us I don't care about. So maybe around May sweeps, uh, they'll get interesting enough for me to start watching it regular again. But for now, I just kind of feel like they're throwing stuff at the wall to see what sticks. Um, so we're gonna move on to General Hospital. Now, I hate the writing for Portia, Curtis, and Jordan. Um, I want to say it feels racist, like no different than Love and Hip Hop or Real Housewives of Atlanta, or whatever. I feel like these could be plot lines on those shows. I mean, this baby mama drama is it's just almost stereotypical and offensive. Um, Curtis and his two baby mamas. And I could even see if Portia and Jordan were pregnant at the same time. I could even see that happening. Um, might be more interesting of a story. But when Portia in Friday's episode got out that chair and we saw her stomach, she looked like she was about to pop. So, you know, you got Jordan just finding out she might be pregnant, and then you got Portia very far along. So I don't know where they're going with this, but I really don't like the writing for these characters because it feels stale and stereotypical. And what about Trina? You know, she should be able to have storylines without uh Nick no, I didn't forgot the boy's name. Nicholas' son. So, the Cassadine. Um, so I'm sorry, I can't remember his name right now, but and I'm sure in the comment section I'll see it. Spencer, his name's Spencer. Trina hasn't had a decent storyline without Spencer. And while I didn't like her relationship with Spencer because I felt like he didn't treat her right, um, she at least had better writing as far as when they were really focusing on that love story and that first time and all of that. But Trina and Kai do not get proper writing for characters to fall in love with them. They should be the new Angie and Jesse, like Along with Children. But they still make stupid decisions, still haven't told their parents about Drew. It's just like these characters are an afterthought, which is why a lot of us love Beyond the Gate so much because we're getting a lot of really good characterization, emotions, and different types of black folks, different personalities, diverse storylines. It's a real soap opera. But I got some issues beyond the gates too, so we're gonna get into that in a few. But next we're gonna move on to Joss's hatred of Sonny. Joss, now I felt like this was a little anticlimactic. The way Joss found out Carly knows she's an agent, but I'm not a fan of the agent Joss storyline because it looks so fake and phony and not real. I've said it time and time again. I could see both Emma or even Trina as WSB agents, but Joss, I can't take her serious. And then her whole anger about Sonny, the man that raised her, and doesn't she realize if she takes Sonny down, she takes everybody down? Did she take Jason down? Did she take Carly down for, being part of like the organization for a while? You know, I mean, she just comes off like an ungrateful brat. Whereas I can see her distancing herself from Sonny and that type of business or whatever, but turning on them as her sole motivation, not even killing Cyrus, but turning on them the way that she did, she's doing, it's just stupid, And she talked about Sonny cheating on her mother. Well, guess what? Carly cheated on Sonny with your father in the limousine. So they cheated on each other. It was a dysfunctional marriage and a dysfunctional couple. But Joss can't seem to keep a love interest, and she can't seem to keep a job or a direction. Like she wanted to be a nurse, at one point. Then that went out the window. Then she wanted to be something else. I can't remember what it was, but this is like her third trying to figure out what she wants to do. Now she wants to be a spy. And even Carly's motivation of getting Joss out of WSB, how can Carly get Joss out to WSB if she doesn't want to be there, if she wants to be there? Even if Brennan was out the picture, whoever's in charge next, could potentially just keep her on if that's what she wants to do. But the storyline is weak. So let me know in the comment section how you feel about Secret Agent Josslyn and her hatred of Sonny, and by default, how it's going to hurt both Jason and Carly. Um, can we also talk about Carly's love scene with Valentin? I kind of figured they were going to get together, but when they actually did the scene, I was like, he's barely touched her, and she looked like she's had a multiple orgasm. It kind of caught me off guard. She really was into that scene. I had to look up, like, is she still with Wes Ramsey? And they're still together. Wes Ramsey played Peter, and he's currently Owen on Days of Our Lives. And next week he is captured, so his run is probably over. Um, but let me know what you think about Valentin and Carly getting it on. Did you like the scene? Do you think that they have a future, especially now that Finola Hughes is no longer a regular cast member on General Hospital? Do you want to see what happens next with Carly and Valentin? Or um, do you think that is doomed to fail and you want her with Brennan? Because I don't think that's quite over with yet. But we'll see. Moving on to Bold and Beautiful. I hate Elektra. I don't hate her as much as I hated Flo because I think that she can be a good actress when she's having her rivalry with Luna or Dylan. I think she does a good job of that. But her character is whiny and hypocritical, and I hate hypocrites. And she kissed RJ. She doesn't know Will knows. Will confessed to kissing Dylan, and it's just insane. And then for them to have Dylan and Electra working together, I know it can make like some good catty moments. I'm sure, especially with Ivy. And if you don't know, the reason why Ivy's like always sitting behind the desk or whatever is because she's pregnant in real life and they're hiding her belly. But between Ivy and Electra, I'm sure they're gonna make Dylan miserable, and Will probably have to throw on his cape and try to save her or whatever. But am I the only one not feeling Electra? I tried. I really tried. I even made a joke that they should add a best friend um, and call her Dinah. And then we'd have Electra and Dinah on Bone and Beautiful. And if you don't know what I'm referencing, is Deidre Hall, who played Electra Woman in the Electra Woman and Dinah Girl show. That's just like a joke waiting to happen. On Bold and Beautiful, I have to also ask, Um, what is the point of Eric now turning on Katie? You know, he did the designs for Logan. They legally belonged to Logan. They were put, even if it was just like test clothing, you know, it was already being created for Logan and everything. And now because Ridge and Brooke have their panties in a bunch, and they gave him was like, "Hey, come back to Forza." He was like, "Oh hell yeah!" And then he just ditched Logan. It just makes me wonder, like, it makes me not like him because we had weeks and weeks and weeks and months of Eric saying how badly he wanted to help Katie, and now he's turning on her and like doesn't want them to use his designs, and so he wants to ruin Katie's business because he's back at Forrester. That's ridiculous. And then they got Deke working at Forrester instead of working at Logan. That makes absolutely no sense. So, you know, bring on the drama, but we got to do better. Moving on to Days of Our Lives. And I have this question often because Days of Our Lives is the soap where they can't go a month or two without somebody getting kidnapped, whether it's Marlena, and Marlena and John used to take turns getting kidnapped back and forth. Kate, you know, Kate constantly getting kidnapped. Melinda Trask got kidnapped. This is a kidnapping show. You know, Stephanie's on her second kidnapping by the same person. So and then we had all of Demira's kidnapped over like for like 3 months. So that's like all of Demira's. The only thing different is they're not in Demir crypt or they're not into the Demir basement or whatever, the mine cellar. But my question is always the same with these shows. And I might have fast forwarded past it if they mentioned it because I got tired of Owen, Stephanie, and Jeremy. I was like, let's just get the storyline over with. But the question I always ask with all these Demir kidnappings and Marlena kidnappings and everybody getting kidnapped, do they actually get bathroom breaks? Do they make them go in a bucket? I mean, they're human, you know, they got to go to the bathroom sometime. So, have you ever thought about that? Uh, on Days of Our Lives with all these kidnappings, do they ever go to the bathroom? And they gotta stink because they don't take showers. So, you know, it's, it's disgusting when you think about it. The other thing that's disgusting and silly to me is Paulina not confiding in Abe and Theo that EJ has their mother uh, cryogenically frozen, possibly trying to wake her up or however they're trying to do it. Because I know Marlene is going to hear about Lexi coming back to life and she's going to immediately want John. Like, you can bring Lexi back to bring John back. But no, she was cryogenically frozen. John wasn't. So, you know, that's why they couldn't bring back the father. They couldn't bring back and when I say the father, I mean Stefano, John, even Julie probably would get in her feelings about her husband, Doug dying. So saying that Lexi was cryogenically frozen makes sense because other people that passed away, especially in real life, you know, they can't be expected to return or recast because EJ's plan kind of makes sense. If people have chronic diseases and they're cryogenically frozen so they can be helped, that would be $1 billion business for a lot of people. So I see the vision that the writers had, but it's really stupid that Pauline is keeping a secret from Abe, especially when she knows that they're in the hospital looking for Stephanie, and that she had the perfect opportunity to tell Abe. This all means that it's all going to come out at the worst time possible because this is a soap opera. But I think that myself as a writer, I would have thought it would be more interesting if she came clean and told, him, about Lexi. Because if she wakes up, he's going to find out anyway, because it means with success. And him and Theo have a right to know that there's even a possibility. I can see her being afraid for a relationship, but her relationship would have a much harder chance of survival with her keeping a secret. So we're gonna have 5 months of drama because, and I'm doing a video on it, so be on the lookout for that too. But the lady playing Lexi, uh, her name is Nikki Crawford. She announced on Instagram that she's already wrapped up her scenes, that she did 5 months of filming, and that means we might get 6 months to a year of Lexi being alive before she leaves the show. And so a lot of people were saying, what's the point of bringing Lexi back if you're just going to have her exit the show eventually? And that also takes away the suspense of who's Abe going to choose. Is he going to choose Paulina? Or is he going to choose Lexi? But the thing is, we already know he's going to end up staying with Paulina because Lexi's leaving the show. And she's barely been on it. And we already know she did 5 months of filming. But they filmed 9 months in advance. So we don't know how many scenes in advance that 5 months included. Um, Now let's move on to Sean. We saw this in a preview that Sean would be shot. And I hate to say who cares because I like Sean, but we haven't seen Sean in months and now he gets shot. The only thing that could be good with this is if he gets back with Jada. And, because I hate Jada and Theo being a couple, knowing that he secretly wants Gabby. So if you like the character of Jada, you want her to be happy. You want her to be in a successful relationship. But we already know Theo wants Gabby. And so that means his relationship with Jada is doomed. Um, so there's that. But if her and Sean get together, that's a good consolation prize. Now we're going to move on to Beyond the Gates, where there's been a lot of talk online where the thing I see people complaining about the most with Beyond the Gates is that there's no repercussions for Leslie. She gets away with everything. And even when people are like arguing with her, she gets the last word, and I think people are tired of that. People don't like Leslie because she's a villain. And so they would love for her to at least get a firm talking to or a slap or something. That's what makes soap operas are made of. And I've always said it's the Dynasty Crystal and Alexis effect, where it wasn't Alexis running over everybody. It was the rivalry between Crystal and Alexis. And people got excited when Crystal just hauled off and got into a slap or a cat fight or something with Alexis. And we all know that when they took a break from Crystal and Alexis fighting, they got the iconic Diane Carroll um, in Joan Collins, they're fighting. So that's what we need with Leslie. We need to balance her out. She needs a rival that's stamina for her. And I think that'll be more exciting for fans versus Leslie just gets whatever she wants. The only sign that, there's any repercussions that could come through with Leslie is that she may not get the house across the street um, from the main family. But I feel like this is only a bump in the road. She will end up across the street, but we'll see. But hopefully, Bill comes through, and the family has just been taking it and taking it. Leslie has just gotten in all of their faces and all of their business, and she'll just walk in their house, and the Duprees, they just, you know, let her do what she wants to do. And they may put her out or something, but only after she's made her point. And I know it's probably fun for the writers, but it's not fun for a lot of the audience. There needs to be a balance. The next thing is Deanna. I didn't know if I was going to like Deanna or not, but I actually did like the character. I liked her scenes. And I thought it was really silly of Vanessa to think that Deanna would be okay with her moving on this soon, this fast. And online, I did, say to someone online, if Deanna knew that she was actually sleeping with Joey while her father was alive and having all those men while her father was alive, then she really will lose her mind. But we'll see where this goes. I don't know if she's a long term character, but Deanna was fun. And I feel like she's that wild child that could shake things up, sort of like Eva did when she showed up. But we'll see how long she's gonna stick around. Starting to lose my voice. Um, yeah, Gates, Nicole and Vanessa. So I also wanted to say this. This is the first time I've ever seen this on a soap, and I'm always asking for things that are new. And shockingly, there's a lot of women that, at least in the comments, seem to be able to relate. But I've never seen a soap character that is in a love triangle where she's sleeping with both men. So I know the women on Beyond the Gates are a little freer, like Vanessa and with, Doug looking the other way while she was with those other men. But it doesn't really sit right with me that Nicole, who's a psychiatrist, would be sleeping with Kyle and Carlton. And does that make her a garden tool? You know what I'm trying to say. I could understand normally in a soap, you have a love triangle like this, and she wouldn't sleep with one until she chose one. But she's sampling the goods on both. And then they're writing it so that the men are simps, that they know about each other. They know they're both screwing her, but they don't care because they want her. And that's messy, kind of in a good way, but also in a bad way when you think about representation. So, I'm really curious on your thoughts. How do you feel about Nicole and Vanessa being loose women that where a lot of people defend them in the comments saying she's single, she can do what she wants to do, et cetera, so forth and so on. So, how do you feel about Nicole and even Vanessa just screwing around. And I mean, Chelsea did the same thing, having threesomes. You know, you know. So when I think about it, Eva sleeping with her sister's man. You know, the women on the show, they're a little loosey goosey with the goodies. But but how do you perceive it? What do you think about their, rich life of Whoopi? Do you think it's good television? Do you think it's bad representation? Do you think that is realistic? Um, let me know in the comment section. I'm very curious to see how, other viewers feel about, characters sleeping with two men at the same time. I know it happens sometimes because we'll have the Who's the Daddy storyline, but not like this, where she's going back and forth. You know what I'm saying? So, so yeah, we're also going to get into the March Madness. So, due to March Madness, we will be getting 3 episodes of CBS soaps. So, we only get episodes on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and then they'll be back on the following Monday. So, we get 3 days of Bold and Beautiful, 3 days of Beyond the Gates, and 3 days of Young and the Restless. And so, I'm going to go ahead and give you those spoilers. Um, but once again, I'm losing my voice. Like I said, ever since I had that stroke, sometimes my voice start acting crazy. So I will do the best that I can. Monday on Beyond the Gates, Naomi is faced with her worst nightmare. Leslie hijacks Chelsea and Madison wedding dreams. Carlton and see what I mean about Leslie. How Leslie gonna get in Chelsea and Madison's business? Carlton and Kyle lock horns over Nicole. Ashley has a bad day at work. Danny makes a concession for Andre on Tuesday. Kat doles out some warnings to Isaiah. Eva is desperate need of Ted's help where her mom is concerned. Shanice leans on her aunt Monica. Wednesday, Bill and Anita engage in a difficult discussion. Leslie's renovation is thwarted, which puts her directly at odds with Vernon. Joey gives his blessing to an old friend. Vanessa seeks Nicole out for some much needed advice. Kyle makes a surprising move. Then on Young and the Restless, Monday, Jack drives a wedge between Victor and Nikki. Basically, Nikki finds out about, Victor kidnapping Jack, and she starts going off on him, so he tells her to get out. Nate puts Kane on notice, and Diane makes a bold move at home. I don't know about that, but she does slap Jack because she finds him in bed with Patty. Wednesday, Adam goes the extra mile to help Nick. Lauren shares surprising news with Phyllis. And Sally encourages Billy to make amends with Jill. I'm sorry. I said Tuesday first instead of Monday. So Monday's episode, Victor goes to great lengths to protect his empire. Chelsea worries about Adam revisiting his past. Nikki seeks answers from Tracy. Jack finds himself torn between Diane and Patty. So, and days, they don't have spoilers out right now for Bold and Beautiful. So I'll go ahead and do the days spoilers. Uh, Let me switch because I'm still on Beyond the Gates picture. Let me switch to a Days of Our Lives picture. So, Days of Our Lives. Monday, Brady grows Owen. Alex apologizes to Jeremy. Rafe reports to Paulina. Kat impulsively kisses EJ. Now, I'm actually happy to see Alex apologizes to Jeremy because the way it ended on Friday's episode, I was like, what's he gonna do? Beat up Jeremy? Is he gonna almost kill him and Rafe stops him or something? So I'm glad to see Alex apologizes to Jeremy. Tuesday, Ari opens up to Gabby. Sarah gives Holly advice. Leo and Dimitri wonder what's left for them in Salem. Gwen and Philip have an exasperating first encounter. Marlena comforts Rachel. Wednesday, Leo and Dimitri find themselves in danger. Philip confesses to Gabby. Klaus stalks Liam because Klaus is the one that is actually the one that shoots Sean. JJ and Theo bond. Belle interrogates EJ. Thursday, Paulina lies to Abe. EJ surprises Gwen. Leo and Dimitri defend themselves to Andrew. Liam is confronted by Klaus. JJ and Sean are involved in a shootout, which that's the episode where he gets shot. Friday, Holly shares her fears with Sarah. Belle updates Jada. Sean presses JJ for the truth. Rachel gives Tate a gift for Holly, and Ari tends to Liam. So that's the spoilers for Days of Our Lives. And what's left? BT. So this is just for the fans that have BT Plus or like Tyler Perry. I don't know what's going on over there with Paramount Plus, trying to take over $100 billion in debt to try to take Warner Brothers. And now they've decided to fold BET Plus into Paramount Plus. And they did this by buying out Tyler Perry's 25% stake in BET Plus. And they're going to take the 3.5 million subscribers that BET Plus has and add it to Paramount Plus. Now, Paramount slash CBS has made me very unhappy, whereas they've been canceling black shows left and right. So say goodbye to Watson because it's on a bubble that it's probably going to get canceled. Say goodbye to the neighborhood. Um, and also, like, the equalizer is gone. So there's not a lot of black representation on Paramount or CBS. The biggest representation they've had is Beyond the Gates. Even that got controversial for a minute because on Paramount Plus they took away season one and were only uploading episodes of season two of Beyond the Gates. Fans got so upset they added season one back to the show, back to the Paramount Plus. But the fact that they took it off, it just is disheartening. And then with BT Plus, they had so many black films that were created for BT Plus. And then you got the Family Business, All the Queen's Men, the Pet Show, all these different shows. And you just can't help but wonder, what changes will happen to BT Plus once it's folded into Paramount Plus in June. So fingers crossed that you know it'll be similar or the same. Just add it to uh, the Paramount Plus hub the same way Disney did for Hulu. I'm hoping that's the case, but how many people aren't going to want to subscribe to Paramount Plus? And I'm sure, and they haven't talked about price changes, but I've already got the notification that my Amazon Prime video is going up $5. $4.99 still $5. But how does this even affect the pricing of Paramount if they do manage to seal a deal with the Warner Brothers, Discovery, and BET Plus? Oh my goodness. it just feels like a disaster waiting to happen. So I just want to talk about it because it affects a lot of Black shows, Black soap operas, Black dramas, Black movies. And if you have any thoughts on that, you know, I'll be in the comments section watching. And with that, thank you for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one.